Studies Section 5 Social Identity Theory Introduction. In this lecture, you will be exposed to the effect, the status, and accomplishment of a group on a person's self-concept and self-esteem. Your race or ethnic affiliation has great impact on self-esteem. Also is the individual commitment to improve or boost the group's status and fortune. As you feel better about the group, you feel better about yourself. Learning outcome in Studies Section 5. Learning outcome 1.5. Explain what you understand by the social identity theory. Learning outcome 2.5. Give an explanation of how social identity theory affects the individual self-esteem, identity, or happiness. Learning outcome 3.5. In what ways can one boost the status of one's in-group? Content. Henry Tajfel and John Turner, 1979, posit that in the social identity theory, a person's self-concept and self-esteem derive not only from personal identity and accomplishments, but also from the status and accomplishments of the various groups to which the person belongs. In other words, being a gang member, a professor, a lawyer, a Nigerian, etc. means that one's identity and self-esteem are intimately tied up with the triumphs and tribulations of fellow gang members, colleagues, or fellow citizens, boosting the status of one's in-group. Sometimes, members of a group are tempted to do what they can to boost the status and fortunes of the in-group. This is because our self-esteem is based in part on the status of the various groups to which we belong. This explains the reason for in-group favorism. By giving advantage to fellow members of a group, we boost the group's standing and thereby potentially elevate our own self-esteem. Thus, feeling better about the group leads us to feel better about ourselves. Question. In-group favorism is referred to as dash. A. One's identity and self-esteem. B. Boosting the status of one's in-group. C. Status and accomplishment of the various groups to which the person belongs. D. Social identity. The correct answer was B. Reason. The answer B justified the major patterns of behavior in which self-esteem is based on the status of the various groups to which we belong. Options A, C, and D were not correct because one's identity or self-esteem, status, accomplishment, and social identity does not portray in-group favorism or refers to boosting the status of one's in-group. Some studies have been conducted to assess participants' self-esteem after they have had an opportunity to exhibit in-group favorism in a minimal group situation. Those who had been allowed to engage in intergroup discrimination had higher self-esteem than those who had not been given the opportunity to discriminate. Lemieux and Smith, 1985. Other researches have shown that people who take particular strong pride in their group affiliations are prone to in-group favorism. When placed in a minimal group situation, Kruker and Luntanen, 1990, people who are highly identified with a particular group react to criticism of the group as if it were criticism of the self. McCoy and Major, 2003. The social identity theory also receives support from common observation that people go to great lengths to announce their affiliation with a certain group when that group is doing well. This is referred to as basking in reflected glory, coined by Sayadini. 1979. Sport fans, for example, chant "We are number one" after a team's victory. Everyone wants to be involved in the outcome of a victory. This is, however, not so after a loss. Sayadini 1976 also observed the use of the first person "we won" and the third person pronoun "they lost" following victory and defeat. Question: provide the correct answer in the table below using Baskin in-group and social identity theory. 1. The dash posits that a person's self-concept and self-esteem not only derive from personal identify and accomplishment, but also from the status accomplishment of the various groups to which person belongs. 2. Dash in reflected glory is identification with a team or group. This shows in having a feeling of happiness when the team wins and being dejected when it loses. Sport fans even wear their favorite team's shirt to their games, classes, or places of work. 3. Steps are sometimes taken by the individual to boost the dash status because the individual's self-esteem depends on it. Answer: 1. Social identity theory. 2. Baskin. 3. In-group. Summary: in this section, you have learned that a person's self-concept and self-esteem, according Henry Tajfel and John Turner 1979, does not emanate only from personal identity and accomplishment, but also from the status of the various groups to which the person belongs. In other words, social identity theory refers to a situation whereby one's identity and self-esteem are intimately tied up with the triumphs and tribulations of fellow gang members, colleagues, or fellow citizens. Sometimes, people are tempted to do what they can do to boost the status and fortunes of the in-group because their self-esteem is based on the status of the various groups to which we belong. This therefore explains the reason for in-group favorism, or what we regard as boosting the status of one's in-group. This is the end of study section 5. Thanks for listening.